actually top of the hour. I want to welcome in our general admission people as well for day 2. Let's get into understanding some of the nuances today between by me and through me. Is everybody aware? Everyone understand now what I mean by me and through me? Because really, the whole aspect of being able to manifest relates to which of those levels of consciousness that you are calibrating at. So if you are, and I'll do, again, very quick recap, but then we're going to get into a little bit more of understanding what it takes. What is the map? What are we traversing here, right? Because you're going to understand the difference between power and force. Now, I'm going to introduce you to some of the characters in the game today, and you're going to be able to identify with them. Right? But we need to understand what are the principles that drive the map of consciousness. And let's bring that back so we can actually see just a bit of a recap. Right? Remember the 4 levels. The first level is, which level is the first level? It is to me, also known as what, ladies and gentlemen, in the chat, please? What is to me? The level of victim, yes. Now, the mantra of to me is I would have the life I want, but everything happens to me. Or nothing good happens to me. You get the idea. Now, for to me, what keeps people in to me is one very powerful aspect. It's called justification. Because everybody's got a reason why they're a victim. Have you noticed that? Everybody has what we call a story. The problem is that most people are now more addicted to keeping their story than actually transcending it. Because it becomes, as they tell it over and over again, what does the story become, ladies and gentlemen? What part of them is the story? Well done, Daisy. Yes, it becomes their identity. And as soon as your identity, it's easy to keep and very hard to let go, like smoking. I'm a smoker, therefore I smoke. I am a runner, therefore I run. If I'm not a runner, I'm not getting my ass off the couch to go do a 10K in the rain. Are you mad? But a runner wouldn't think twice because it's who they are, which is why it's what they do. So in to me, it usually has a very strong attachment to a story. That's why I don't work with victims. This is not you want to go get therapy, you want to go psychotherapy, dynamic therapy, gestalt therapy, whatever it is. Go lie on a couch and tell somebody your story 1,000 times, see if it helps you, right? That's not my market. There's people out there that do very good at helping people with these kind of stories. It's not my market, right? So it doesn't mean to say I can't help people in to me. I've done enough suicide interventions over my lifetime to understand what the patterns are. But my go-to, my frame of reference, the wheelhouse that I operate in is not in to me. So please don't ask me how to solve your problem because 25 years ago your best friend had an affair with your other best friend and took all your money. That's not why we're here. So moving into the next level. Now we're starting to get something that I'm pretty familiar with and identify with a lot of people in my tribe, right? And that is by me, also known as what? Yes, Danny back in the chat again. Oh, Graham, almost to the point. Yes, the achiever mentality. Why? Because you realize that it sucks being a victim. How many people like being a victim, right? Go to the savannah in Africa and ask the zebras if they like being a victim. No, right? It sucks. So when you finally wake up to the fact that life doesn't reward victim at any level of capacity, and the only trade-off that you get is the emotional juice of the ego to feel superior because now you've actually got bigger problems than somebody else. So therefore, you've finally got something you can show off with, right? And you hold on to your story like a trophy, right? Or you point to all of the other people to blame as to why you're a victim. Have you ever noticed, by the way, that if a victim's enemies died, they get upset? Why? Because they've got no one to blame anymore. They have to go find somebody else to blame, right? So when you finally wake up, that gives a pretty crappy movie. That's a movie that nobody wants to pay to watch, right? That's a 0 score on Rotten Tomatoes, right? Don't star in a victim movie, right? Now, in that case, you wake up and you say, you know what? Guess what? Screw being a victim, and we've all been there at some point. I get it, we're human. But when you grow out of that, when you mature out of that, the next level is achieved. It's like, hey, screw this. Nobody gives a crap. In fact, I'll tell you what the stats are. You know what the stats are? You can take this out of Pete plucking it out of his ass 101, but it seems pretty relevant. The stats are this: 80% of people don't care enough about your problem, or don't care anything about your problems. The other 20% are glad you have them. There you go, victims. Go put that in your pipe and smoke it. 80% of people don't give a crap about your story or your problems. The other 20% are glad you have them, right? Get off being a victim. It doesn't serve anyone. That's my little to me rant. We are now past it. Okay, back to Buy Me. So in Buy Me, the Achiever, you want to go out and hustle. You want to create the life you want. You want to basically grab life by the throat, wrestle it to the ground, and say, right, I'm in. Let's do this. I am taking inspired action. I am going to go make the life that I want. And you get this giant block of granite called your life. You pick up the hammer and the chisel, and you start chipping away to try to sculpt the life you want. A little bit tough, right? Now, obviously, there's different levels of Buy Me. Low Buy Me is where you just want to get by. You're taking responsibility. You've got your day job. You're trying to do stuff. You're trying to be a good person. Yeah, you're not lazy. You're working hard. You're trying to put food on the table. Right? You're not a victim. You'll get up early. You'll stay up late. You'll do what it takes. The high Buy Me is a different level. High Buy Me is where you are working 3 different jobs. You are sleeping less. You're getting up an hour earlier, even though you went to bed an hour later. You are hustling. You are striving. You are trying to work harder. You're trying to 10x everything. It's like, you're hacking this. You're looking for the shortcut to that. That's high Buy Me. Everybody understand? Right? So there's a lot of people in Buy Me today. Right? There's more people in To Me, unfortunately, globally, but yeah, there's a lot of people in Buy Me. There's very few people at the next level, which is Through Me. See, you cannot manifest in Buy Me. Right? You cannot manifest intentionally what you want in Buy Me. What you manifest in Buy Me is more Buy Me. Right? So Through Me is where what we call the flow state. It's where it's effortless. And that's where life flows through you. And when you are in tune with the right frequencies, both the brain frequency, both the what we call heart rate variability of frequencies, and also where you are more associated with the elf holding the joystick outside of the computer, or the player holding the joystick outside of the computer, than you are the elf trapped inside the rule set of physical matter reality on screen, then you can start writing cheat codes into the system. But you can't do it as the elf. Right? And you're going to understand why biochemistry sets us up to fail on that, even though you try many different things. Obviously, the 4th level is As Me, which is kind of oneness. That's not the class. If you want to go trip out there and go smoke some DMT, then be my guest. Go trip into oneness and see how it works for you. But it's not really what we're doing here. So unless you want to meditate on a mountain for 20 years and reach nirvana, this isn't the seminar. My job, guys, is I take people from Buy Me frustrated achievers. Who identifies as a frustrated achiever? Give me an F. I was going to say F me in the chat. Give me an F in the chat, right? Frustrated, right? Yeah, me, F me, right? Yeah, exactly. Right? That's how we feel half the time. F it. There we go. So getting from a frustrated achiever into Through Me is the game. And that's the game we're playing today. So I want to introduce you to some characters in the game. And I want you to see if you recognize some of these characters. Right? I want to see if you identify either now or in the past, or people that you're able to characterize. You see, we have Vince. Vince is the victim. Yep. Anybody know any Vinces out there? All right. Vince, you have to don't have to convince, is a victim. All right. A lot of Vinces out there. Now, as I said, Vince sits To Me. The mantra is poor me. Vince blames everything, circumstances, and if there's no circumstances, we'll find somebody to blame for the fact there's no circumstances. You get the idea. Do not be a Vince. Vince the victim is a sucky movie. Nobody's going to pay to go to the cinema to watch a Vince movie, right? So, and yes, I know, some of them you're probably in relationship to with, or have been. Some of you, they're known as your siblings. Some of them are known as your mother-in-law, whatever it may be, right? I get it. But you got to love them. right? Don't blame them. Don't feel superior to them. Yeah, they're just starring in a different movie. But in order for you to be able to create, you have to let go of being attached or being sucked into what we call OPD. OPD stands for other people's drama. Who's tired of other people's drama? Give me a thumbs up in the chat if you're done with other people's drama. All right? Tell me about it. It's, yeah, gave up that long ago. So, we have got a few more people that may, and I've used male examples here. Sorry, ladies, it was just, I could go all, sort of, unilateral on gender here, but I'm just using guys for today. Doesn't mean to say I don't love you. Yeah, you could use, I don't know, Vanessa the victim if you want. You get the idea. But we go from Vince the victim, who finally wakes up, pulls his thumb out of his ass and says, screw being a victim. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to become Alan the achiever. Who relates to Alan in the house, ladies and gentlemen? See, Allens are proactively signing up for challenges so that they can learn how to crack the code on getting the life that they want. Yes, we have Allens. Yeah, we could have Agathas as well. Yes, I can see some Agathas in the house. So Alan or Agatha the achiever. Now, one of the problems with Alan and one of the benefits to Alan, you see, one of the best things about Alan is that he's up to something. He's on purpose with something, and that is a very different energy to good old Vince, right? And certainly being Alan feels a lot better to your biochemistry than it does being Vince. Yeah, so that's the upside. What's the downside? What's the downside, ladies and gentlemen? The downside is that it's a little exhausting. And at some point, how many people, give me an S in the chat, feel like stressed out Simon? Any S for stressed out Simons, stressed out Simones in the house? Yeah, because that is it's the MO, the modus operandi of Buy Me. Buy Me has its basis in control. To me, its victim has a basis in being, not having any control. So when you take control of your life, when you take charge of your life and you move into the achiever level, the payoff to that at some point is that life doesn't really like being controlled. Have you found that out yet? The more you try to control things, the more stuff comes out of left field and screws you up. The more curveballs you get. You can all relate to this. I don't need to ask. It's just part of the rule set. So that when you're trying to juggle and you're trying to hustle and you're trying to control your destiny, stress is a natural byproduct of that. And the problem is this: if you stay there for long, stressed out Simon leads out to burnt out Barry. Oh my goodness, burnt out. Anyone been there? Anyone just felt completely burnt out? Oh, got a few B's coming in the chat here. See, burnt out Barry, or burnt out Beatrice, isn't fun. And unfortunately, burnt out Barry usually has one of two directions. Burnt out Barry, if you want to try to burn through it and burn the midnight oil. Why? Because you went to a seminar that says you just need to work harder. You just need to want it more. You just need to increase your desire. Yeah, anyone heard that stuff? Well, burnt out Barry says, oh God, it's my fault. I'm just not strong enough. I'm just not working hard enough. I need the next productivity hack. I need the next 10 productivity hacks, and then I'll finally crack it. And that, unfortunately, leads burnt out Barry to become heart attack Harry. Now, there's another path that burnt out Barry takes, and this is a common pattern. Burnt out Barry can say, screw this. I tried the business. It failed. Yeah, I tried working 3 jobs. It nearly killed me. And so burnt out Barry, when all said and done, either becomes heart attack Harry or drops momentarily back into Vince in order to catch their breath. Oh, I'm never going to love again. Right? I put everything into that relationship and that bastard screwed me over. Right? I worked my ass off and they took me for a mug. And so you drop into victim until you catch your breath, and then you realize that it's not really who you are. So what do? Hey, now you got your breath back. Let's go back. Woohoo! I'm back to Alan the Achiever because this time it'll work. This relationship is going to be the one that works. This business will be the one that works. Yeah? This career move will finally, make me happy. Anyone seeing that? Mary says hamster wheel. Do you know why? Because you're clairvoyant. Absolutely. Rinse and repeat. Anyone relate to this pattern, by the way? Anyone ran through this pattern? Absolutely. And everybody's looking for solutions. Where, ladies and gentlemen? Where? In the outer world. Still trying to control it. That is the rinse and repeat cycle of, Alan, goes to Barry, goes to either Harry or back to Vince, and then back to Alan when you got your breath back. Have I just described anybody's life, by the way, for the last 10, 20, 30, 40 years? Anyone? Right? Tell me about it. It's just very prominent. So, where the frick's the other guy, right? Well, there is somebody else. And this is where I'm going to be helping take you over these 5 days. And that, ladies and gentlemen, who likes the whole identity of effortless Eric? Oh, who wants to be an Eric? Who wants to be an Eric? Yeah, he's not the Messiah. He's a very naughty boy. Right. Who wants to be Eric Idle? Who wants to be Eric? Yes, effortless Eric. Now, there's a couple of things why I chose this image, right? And that is, look, Eric is still working. Eric hasn't retired on a beach. Eric's still doing stuff, but he's got a far better way of doing it than Heart Attack Harry. Would you agree? I don't want to be Eric's laptop. Yeah, I agree with that one as well, right? But in order to understand the differences between these levels, in order to map the territory so you understand it, then we need to go back to some basics in neuroscience to understand how the brain works. You see, who remembers what beta brainwaves are called by the secret societies, ladies and gentlemen? What do they call the beta brainwave? The poverty wave. Yes, the slave wave. Why? Because when you are Achiever Alan leading to burnt out Barry and Heart Attack Harry, you are only operating in beta. Beta shuts off the door, the ceiling. It locks out not a glass ceiling, it's a freaking iron ceiling to get through to through me. You cannot rise to through me if you are in beta. And I want you to imagine something. Imagine that you have the outer world. And when you are in the outer world, you are fully dialed in, you are present, you are there, you are trying to do stuff, you're acting as the elf. You are very much associated with the elf at this point. You're not associated with the person holding the joystick outside of the computer, i.e. your consciousness. So your sense data is in what we call high processing. And that's what beta does. Beta brings in the front part of the brain, the analytical brain, to process information so that you're in the outer world and you are processing the outer world as a primary source of data. Is this making sense? Give me a yes or a thumbs up in the chat if you're with me still. Okay? I want to make sure you understand this because it's a key part of the map. All right. So when it comes to understanding, and yes, you're most likely in beta right now, right? Because you're processing. That's okay. There's a time and a place, right? So, but if your center of gravity is outer world centric, because your brain has been trained to be in beta, and by the way, anti-social media, as I call it, will train you to be in beta, right? And so, because its algorithm is trained by engagement, engagement happens way more when there is polarity. Right? Don't get me started. But if we look at beta, beta is the outer world. Alpha, the abundance wave, is where your inner world is more your focus point. And I'll give you an example. Let's take a book. Got any books around? Let's pick one here. I don't know. Anyone ever heard of this one? It's called The Inside Track. I know. Yeah. Pretty good book, as it happens. Right? So, but if you're reading this book and you are going through it and you are creating in your mind based upon symbolism in the book. Symbolism meaning language. You're talking reverse contrast symbolism, i.e., black on white, which reverses out of the page symbols that you interpret through your mentation into meaning, right? We call that language, right? But you're reading the book. If an alien came down and watched you staring at a page full of like black and white scribble, or you picked up a book in Arabic and you don't speak Arabic or Persian or Farsi, right? It would just be symbols on a page. But if it's in your own language, you detect and decode that information and give it meaning, coherence. You lower entropy, as we call it scientifically. You give order to the symbols. And at that point, you create a reality where? In the outer world or in your head? Which one? Inner world, in your head. Now, if you're engrossed in a good book, then what happens? You are creating an entire world, an entire reality in your mind. And now your inner world is more your center of gravity than your outer world. Everybody follow? And you are in essentially an alpha state. And you're reading the book and you're gross. And somebody could call your name in the kitchen. You don't even hear them because your inner world is now more real than your outer world. Now, if we're dealing with alpha, that is essentially, if you were to close the book and stay in that state, that is the alpha, right? That gives you a really good understanding of how you're like inner world centric, you're present. There's a contemplation there. Now, there's a challenge with most people because most people, unfortunately, also create imagination and realities in their head that cause them to still be in beta. Why do you think that is? Why can your inner world be more real but still keep you very much trapped in beta? What's the words I'm looking for? Yes, problems, stress, fear, all of that stuff, drama. You see, your brain really doesn't know the difference between an external and an internal experience. But if you're internally referenced and you are calm, if you're outside and you're walking around a nice Japanese Zen garden and there's no problems in your life that you're thinking about, you can be an alpha quite easily. But most people aren't. They're trying to control the outer world, which leads to stress. Now, here is one of the reasons why you need to understand. Let me pull up one of my slides here. Okay, right. I am going to, excuse me. I am going to, before I pull them up, guys, bear with me and talk amongst yourselves. You can still see me here. So I forgot to go add that one in. Right, there we go. Perfect. Now I can do that again. I feel so smart. I'm changing my slides on the fly on a live call. Oh my goodness, check me out. Right, okay, so, and that means, ta-da, we need to understand something about our biology. There is a huge difference evolutionarily between understanding the difference between fear and danger. And if you don't understand what I'm about to say, and this is taught, secret societies teach their initiates. It's one of the first things that allows you to bring your alpha inner world under control. Because how we evolved evolutionarily was that fear is an emotion that is designed to do one thing. Listen carefully. Fear only serves one purpose evolutionarily. It is designed to point us towards a physical threat or danger. If you're standing on the edge of a cliff and you notice there's a 1,000-foot drop, you get scared. Why? It's designed to point to the death. That's avoid, move away. It's a physical danger that could threaten your physical life. If you see or hear a snake or a cracking twig outside of the cave, you get fearful, your spider senses go off. Why? Because it is designed to point towards danger. There is a difference. In other words, what fear is, ladies and gentlemen, fear is nothing more than the warning light on the dashboard, right? It allows you to tell you that there is a problem that you need to bring your attention to, right? So in this case, it's a rattlesnake. But once fear has done its job, listen to me, it serves no other useful purpose. What do I mean by that? It means that fear is designed to mobilize your biochemistry in a way where you can address physical danger. And the physical or biochemical reaction leads to what we've known for many years as the fight or flight response, where it's like you run, you fight, or you freeze, or you hide. But the fear is designed to mobilize a huge amount of cortisol that turns you into a temporary superperson. It narrows your vision. It literally constricts the front part of your brain to push blood out of the neocortex and into the midbrain so you can work off reflex, which is much faster than critical thinking, which is much slower. What else does it do? It takes energy from two of the most energy draining systems of the body. Right? One is your digestion. Digestion shuts down when you are fearful and trigger the danger response. Why? Because you don't need to digest, because most danger in the outer world, evolutionarily in the human race, has only lasted about 10 to 20 minutes. And you can, again, go to the savannah, and I'll give you an example. If you have a zebra or a impala, or a deer, and you see them, they know that they are prey, and there are predators out there, right? And you see the deer's ears twitching, and it hears a noise. It's like super alert, right? And what's happening, if it detects danger, then that fight or flight goes through they're mammals. They go through the same biological response, meaning that now all of a sudden they need energy to run away so they don't become lunch. Or you need energy to run away so the bandits from the next village don't catch you. You get the idea? So your body goes through a whole load of shifts. And those shifts are designed to pump blood to the muscles. Where does the blood come from? It comes from the organs. It squeezes blood away from the organs and pushes it out to the extremities so you can fight. Is this making sense? You following me here, guys? Right? So when you're scared or you're fearful, you trigger an entire cascade of biological responses that are designed to do a number of things. One of them is to get you ready to fight. I told you it shuts down the it shuts down the digestion. Why? Because for 20 minutes you don't need to digest food. What's the second area that sucks a huge amount of energy out of the body that it shuts down immediately so that it can borrow that energy as well? Absolutely. It's the immune system. Your immune system it takes up a lot of energy, right? You've got several trillion cells that are dealing with multiple trillions bacteria, and you've got about 500 viruses in your body at any one time. Why? They're perfectly harmless because you have an immune system. And what does science call these? What does medical science call these viruses? They call them opportunistic organisms. That's the medical term. And why are they called opportunistic organisms? Because they're waiting for an opportunity to attack the body. So imagine this. You've got a wall like the Great Wall of China or Hadrian's Wall, and you've got your soldiers standing on that wall with their spears and their shields, protecting the country from the enemy, protecting the body from the viruses. That's what your immune system does. Now, when you then get scared, the body says, hey, I need the soldiers over here in the muscles because we need to work. So it stands down a lot of the soldiers. And that's when the opportunistic organisms can climb over the wall. Now, it doesn't really matter for 20 minutes because you're not going to masticize a tumor in 20 minutes. But have you ever heard of something called chronic stress? Now we understand why stress is a killer. Because stress, when it comes to fear-based stress, paralyzes the immune system. Why do you think they were trying to get you so scared in 2020 so that it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy that you get sick? And of course, if you're scared of a virus and you get ill, of course it's the virus you're scared about. Don't get me freaking started on that. Anyway, on other news. So when we come to understanding that if you are scared, you go through a biological process that is designed to get you to fight. Now, where does the body think the enemy is? Does the body think the enemy is inside or out there? Which one? Out there. So, does the body have any interest in putting you into a meditative alpha state when there's stress, i.e. danger response? Not only does it not have any interest, it's physically impossible. Meaning that if you allow fear to take over your life or you get stressed, you have zero ability to do anything other than be the elf. You lose connection to the joystick. You are now trapped in your full sense data, amplified up 15, 18, 20 cycles per second that your brain is running in with a whole cascade of emotions and a whole biochemical shift that prepares you to defend yourself from the tiger outside the cave. So again, fear serves one useful purpose: to point you towards danger and get you ready to fight it. That's it. It's a biochemical evolutionary marvel, which is why we are here, right? Because our ancestors survived. Is this making sense? And you'll see how it ties into manifesting very soon. I promise you. See, fear doesn't play any other useful role. It points towards danger. You may say, oh no, fear plays a very useful role in not walking down dark alleys at night. No, it doesn't. Intelligence plays a useful role in not walking down dark alleys at night. Fear stops you going on holiday in a war zone. No, intelligence stops you going on holiday in a war zone, right? It's like fear doesn't have any useful purpose other than to get your attention, snap you out of your mindlessness or whatever it is, or you're making something over here. You're making the fire in the cave, and all of a sudden you hear a bear growl outside. It's there to get your attention, to point towards physical danger, get the body ready to fight, flight, or freeze. You get the idea. Now, what that does as a byproduct or a consequence is it puts you solely in the category, of beta. All right? Oops, where are we? This is where your biochemistry will absolutely lock you in when you have any kind of stress. Why do you think the parasitic elite, the entire media is owned by what we call the elite? Why do you think the purpose of the news is to scare the crap out of you? Why do you think the purpose of the media is to scare the crap out of you? To simply trap you in beta. Because in beta, you can't do anything. Right? In beta, you can only use force, not power. It's two very different things. So alpha is where, again, the secret societies, the initiation, the first training that you get is how to transcend fear, or recognize if there is fear and there is danger, to deal with it, but understand the difference between fear, which leads to danger, and what we're feeding the masses, which is also known as psychological fear. See, we never evolved as a species in our biochemistry to understand the difference between physical danger and psychological fear. And some of you are lying awake at night, scared to death. Scared to death that, I don't know, some country may start a war. Scared to death that you can't pay the credit card. Scared to death you might get fired from your job. And all you're doing is trapping yourself in the poverty wave. Anyone getting some understanding here? Okay. Now, again, anger is fear. Anger is a form. Anger can be very useful if you can harness it. Anger is a high frequency energy. And if you can harness anger in terms of, I get angry because I am done playing small, that's a declaration. We'll get more into that on Friday when I bring it all together. But you have to understand that One of the things, if you want to manifest, is understand how to train your brain to be calm. You can't do that in buy me. Buy me, by its very definition, causes stress, which traps you in the Achiever Allen. It traps you in the poverty wave, which then leads to more stress, which then leads to burnt out Barry, which leads to heart attack Harry, or screw this, it's never going to work. You go to be a victim, catch your breath, get back on the horse. So let me share with you some of the secrets and the distinctions between going from buy me to through me. You see, we live our life through our emotions. Our emotions are what creates stress. And our emotions are what creates happiness, or allows us to experience happiness. All right? If you really want it in the simplest sentence I can give you, the only thing you can do in life, my friends, is experience. Welcome to understanding the connection to the joystick. If you want to take it one step further, the only thing you can actually experience is the act of experiencing. Now, we can have many different things we can experience, but ultimately, we're here to experience. So we need to understand that what is in our soul, our heart, what calls us, what path that allows us to move forward, is we're usually searching for an experience that makes us feel good. Does that make sense? And feel free to kick back if I'm not trying to jump too many gaps here. I'm trying to look at this as a logical step by step. Most of the decisions we make, most of the actions we take are designed to allow us to get us to feel better. In other words, to feel great. And if you want to see how this relates to the levels of consciousness, I'll share it with you. You see, poor old Vince the victim, he plays the game called Feel Great If. Well, I'd feel great if, I had money. I'd feel great if I didn't have, cancer. I'd feel great if my boss was kind to me. I'd feel great if I was able to pay my rent. If you want to be in victim, play Feel Great If. Okay? Alan plays a different game. Some of you relate very much to this. Alan plays the game of feel great when. I will feel great when my business succeeds. I'll feel great when I lose the 30 pounds. I'll feel great when I get my goal, whatever that goal is. I am motivated. I'm getting out there. I'm swinging the bat and I'm going for gold. And when I get the gold, I'm going to feel great. Everybody fine? But this guy, Effortless Eric, plays a very different game. Eric plays the game of feel great now. Feel great now. Feel great now. Not feel great now because I've got my goal. Not feel great now unless something bad happens. Not feel great now until I can't find a reason to feel great now. He doesn't play that game. It's feel great now. And what the effortless Erics of the world have managed to master is the ability to find meaning, joyful meaning, in almost anything that happens. Of course, it's easier said than done, Nick, which is because most people haven't built the muscle. Right? That's why you're here. Now, for those that don't know, I flashed up a book earlier. It's actually my book, The Inside Track. These are the 11 letters that I wrote from prison 7 years ago when I was sentenced to 6 months in the most violent prison in England, Pentonville, where blood on the floor was a daily occurrence. Attempted murders were weekly. Somebody just got stabbed to death the week before I was there. Right? And I went to prison having never been arrested, never been accused of a crime, never been found guilty, and I still don't have a criminal record. Now, why is that? Because I was a civil prisoner. I was arguing a $17 million business deal that I'd done with Hewlett-Packard many years before, and we were arguing the toss over something in the contract, and these tried to sue me for $17 million, which was absolute bullshit. Right? And I wasn't going to be bullied by their $100 million ruthless law firm who froze all of my accounts, right, with a court order. And I wasn't playing ball, so what they did is they put in a contempt of court application. I thought it was just a chess move. I went to dismiss it, right? I thought the judge would throw it out of court. I learned a lot about how highly expensive law firms work. And it's not who's right or wrong. It's about who can tell the best story. Needless to say, they sold the application to the judge, and he sent me to prison for 6 months. I lost everything 7 years ago. Now, when I went down the steps, that's, to quote the comment earlier, right? It's not easy, or it's easier said than done, Nick, to play feel great now. But I understood how the game works, and I'm going to show you how it works in a moment. And what happened at that point is I made a decision that I was not going to be Vince the victim. How easy would it be for me to be Vince the victim at that point? How easy? Yeah, I was handed a Vince the victim handbook, an excuse book, on a silver platter. I could have grabbed that with both hands, hold it up, and shaked it at the world, saying, look, it's not my fault. Look what happened. Look what they did to me. Are you fucking kidding me? Right? No. Instead, I knew that if I went down that road, I would never recover. So I didn't want to be by me. I can't fight the system. Yeah, by me, let me get a spoon and start digging my way through the wall, right? Like in Shawshank Redemption, take me 15 years. No, there's not a lot at that point. I had to play feel great now. And that was actually easy. Do you know why it was easy? It was easy because I'd spent many years building the muscle. You build the muscle like you guys are doing these 5 days in order to be able to use the muscle. So how does that actually work? I understand that, wow, the universe, I live in a friendly universe. Everything is working out for me and going according to plan. I don't know what the plan is, but I have to believe and trust in it. To let go of by me, you've got to let go of the need for control. You replace it with trust and faith in a friendly universe. At which point I got excited. Wow, if the universe is sending me into prison, why is that? Ask better questions. Questions of the steering wheel of the mind. Well, clearly I've spent 25 years at that point helping people with positive psychology, understanding how to be a better version of themselves. At which point I suddenly realized, wow, the people in prison probably never get to watch podcasts or read books like Think and Grow Rich or get in touch with my work. If the universe is sending me in there with to hold a candle in a dark place, what an exciting adventure that's going to be. Am I willing to do it? Of course, that's my mission. And I went in there and I didn't get upset and I didn't get scared. I got excited. I got curious. And I went to work. And I spent 6 months helping prisoners, getting people off drugs, stopping suicides, redesigning the intake system for new prisoners that help reduce violence between the wings and help people psychologically adapt to prison because they hadn't got the tools. That's now being used in prisons all over the world, by the way. I was in a prison last month in Louisiana State Penitentiary giving a talk there as well. Now, that, when I went in there, was it hard? It was hard at times, of course it was. But I wrote a sign that I stuck on my cell door that said, every adversity carries with it the seed of an equivalent or greater benefit. I'm not being punished, I'm being prepared. We're in a growth-centric environment, not a comfort-centric environment. So at that point, I then came out 6 months later. I was $350,000 in debt. I owed my lawyers $100,000. I owed Hewlett Packard over $100,000 plus interest they were charging me every day, right? That attached that court order to my house that if I didn't pay them, they're going to take the last thing that I had as a roof over my head. I owed 150 people tickets to seminars that got canceled, coaching trips around the world. I got no money. I didn't have a credit rating. I went from a multi-decade 999 credit rating, a $1 million limit on my Black American Express card, to not being able to open a bank account. I had nothing. I had nothing. I had minus $350,000. And some of you think you got problems. And what had happened when I came out? I didn't get scared. Why? Would I have been justified to have the Vince Victim Handbook coming out of prison? You damn right I would. Do you think I would take it? Not in this lifetime, because I understand where that leads. And some of you took the Vince the Victim Handbook because you didn't realize you had another choice. That's why I'm here to offer you one over these next 5 days. So I looked at that and I thought, right, it's time to go to work. I've never dug myself out of $250,000 before. I've dug myself out of some other holes, but never one that deep. This is going to be exciting. Let's see how it's going to work. Why? Because I'm applying what I'm teaching you, because the how is none of my business. Oh, there's another little golden nugget. See, in by me, the how is the only thing you've got. But in through me, the how is none of your business. So when it says, oh, well, it's time to focus on how I can, buy me my way out of this. No, I have no clue how to go generate $250,000. But I know that if I'm willing to serve, and at that point, the only thing that I had certainty about, the only thing I had certainty about in prison after everything was taken away from me was my relationship with my fiance at the time. What happened? Well, when I came out, I found out a week later that for the entire 6 months I was in prison, she was having an affair with one of my staff members, sleeping in my bed. The one thing I thought I had certainty for the whole 6 months was then also taken away. Do you think I had a right to be a victim? Do you think I had a right? And what did I do at that point? Did I get angry? No. I remember journaling the next day in my meditation room and I actually wrote, I thought that the big weight on the bar was prison. It turns out that that was just the warm-up for me coming out to lift the real weight on the bar, which is to know that my marriage, which was planned for June in Portofino, 6-figure wedding that was already paid for before I went away, everything fell to pieces. What did I do? I asked better questions. Like, what would make somebody do that? And it was easy to look at the answer. Everybody's in their own movie. I don't get to help other people in their movies. I get to be an example in mine. And if somebody was that scared, somebody had put the address where we lived at on social media, and all of the people that bought tickets, someone was getting really angry. They wanted their money back, threatening to come to the house, kick down the door. And this is my fiance on our own, vulnerable, scared. The man that protects her has just gone to jail for 6 months. There's no money. What kind of emotions do you think she was feeling? And the vacuum of that level of uncertainty happened to be filled with somebody who had a different agenda. Decided, I get it. Okay? We do a lot of things when we're scared that we sometimes later regret. Do we not? Well, what happened? I understood first, and I realized that this is my movie. So let's get to work. And every adversity carries with it the seed of an equivalent or greater benefit. The problem is most people focused way too much on the adversity to start watering the seed. And so I got to work, and I went to work. And it took me a year to a year and a half in order to be able to pay back the people that had bought tickets to my events or coaching. That was my first priority. I didn't even care if Hewlett-Packard took my house. I wanted to help the people that I promised to help. A little bit later, I started to try to pay Hewlett-Packard back. And I remember sending them a message one time saying, listen, the interest is killing me. I'm really trying here, but the interest is killing me. Is there anything you can do to help? And then they wrote back saying, you know something? We see that you're trying. So we're actually going to cancel the interest moving forward. And if you pay before the end of the year, we'll halve the interest we've already put. Why? Because of the way that I was manifesting with the techniques that you're learning here and over the next few days, certainly with some of the tools, one of which I used specifically on that before I made the email and the phone call request. You're going to learn that tomorrow. So from there, I arrived here on this island 6 years ago, April the 9th, 2019. I'd managed to climb to $250,000 in debt from $350,000 in debt at that point. I borrowed an old friend's van. I drove across south of France, down to the south of Spain on a ferry for 2 days. And I arrived at Tenerife in an old borrowed clapped out van, all my possessions and 2 hungry Jack Russells. I had 1 month rent in the bank and an excitement about how the adventure was going to unfold from here. Did I know how it was going to work? No. Let me tell you again, the how is none of your business. Instead, you're here to trust the fact that if you apply the tools, outer world follows inner world. Did I have every right, by the way, to feel upset during that? Did I have every right, looking at my sense data in the outer world and the evidence of my senses, that there was no hope? Did I have every right to come to the conclusion that I could justify being a victim, or I've just got to work my ass off? Of course. But I understand what I teach you, which is why, and guys, this isn't about me. This is about me validating the fact that I'm coming from experience here, because I know what I'm talking about. Otherwise, I've got no right to stand in front of you. What happened after that? Well, fast forward. Things started falling into place. I started meeting people. People happened to cross my path. Some people reached out to help. I started getting ideas in my morning meditation, in my journaling in the morning. I got inspiration coming through of things, ideas I could do. Did I still have to work? Of course I had to work. But everything started to conspire in my favor because I held my frequency. And I remember, I haven't shared this with many people, but I remember sitting on my prison bed when I was faced with having nothing. Everything I had taken away from me. My business, my credit rating, my relationship, my money, my clients, my reputation, all of that. And faced with all of my sense data telling me that everything had gone. There's no hope. I'm locked up for 6 months in a violent prison. And I remember saying to myself, I'm going to be sat here for 6 months, and at some point it's going to pay me to be here more than a Premiership footballer would earn, 6 figures a week. This is going to be exciting. Do I know how? Absolutely not. How's none of my, finish the sentence, the how is none of our business. And there's a key to that, which I'll share with you in a moment before we wrap up. And so, since then, having done, and all I wanted to do was help people with this book, by the way. This wasn't never meant to be a book. It's the private letters I wrote to my students. But when I came out, they told me that those letters had helped them so much that we published it. It went Amazon #1. And people started reading the book and they started realizing what had happened and how what I was teaching was real. And since then, a lot of people started joining the coaching programs. Some people wanted private coaching. We've got fast forward $30 to $31 million later. I never saw that coming. I didn't set out to build that. I set out to help people. I set out to focus on adding value. And I sit here today back as a multimillionaire, 0 debt, 0 credit, 0 overdraft, 0 borrowing, beautiful home, beautiful cars, beautiful relationship, beautiful life. Why? Because I understood the principles. And that is what's waiting for you if you follow. Now, let's just go back and show you scientifically what the key is on this, right? There is something where you understand when you play the game of feel great now, not feel great now through gritted teeth, but finding how to find something to be grateful for. I was grateful I was sent to prison to help people. I was grateful that life found a way to smuggle me into jail without ever being accused of a crime and then bring me out again without even having a criminal record. That was freaking genius. I couldn't have figured that out. So let me show you how interference works. If you drop a pebble in the pond, it creates a ripple. When you drop a pebble in the quantum field, in the ocean of possibility, it creates a ripple. Those pebbles we call thoughts, by the way. Now, if you drop 2 pebbles, they create what's called an interference pattern. That interference pattern is where the waves meet each other, like in the middle here. Yeah. Now, if you understand physics, you'll realize that waves operate in phase when they reach each other. An interference pattern happens in 2 different ways. You can have what's called constructive interference, where the waves hit each other, right? Thoughts attract like thoughts, attract like thoughts. You start thinking about the field sends something back as a wave. It's in the same frequency, And if those are in the same frequency, at the same height, and the wave hits at the right point, we call it constructive interference, and it amplifies the volume of the thought. Understand? If you have your wave is out of phase, we call that destructive interference. And destructive interference cancels out the wave. If your future is here, and your ideal future in the quantum field, on your dream board, on your vision board, has all of this abundance and it has all of this life that you want to create, but you're dropping pebbles in the quantum field, thoughts in the field that are creating waves, standing waves that can be measured, and they are out of phase. You're dropping thoughts of doubt, fear, scarcity, oh my God, control. They will cancel out your dream. But if you've got your vision board and your mind movies and your affirmations and you're living in through me and you're dropping in thoughts that are based on alpha waves with this calm, which are coming from a place of loving your future into reality, from being positive anticipation, from being excited about what happens. Now, what matter what your sense data is saying right now? Forget the outer world. We're talking about your thoughts, and we're talking about your future. And if there is a mismatch, you will be thrown into by me or to me. It will cancel it out. Oh, a few bingos in the chat here, ladies and gentlemen. This isn't woo-woo. This is standard practice of frequency-based physics. Some of you are very temporary about trying to love your future into reality. Why? Because you're playing feel great when. Or even if you're playing feel great now, it's temporary until something in the outer world throws you off the feel great now horse. Guys, has today been useful? Has today given you some insight around why most people spend most of their life not having the ability to manifest? I've got news for you. We're just warming up. Tomorrow I'm going to give you some practical stuff. We've had to cover some ground over the last 2 days. I've had to address your belief system. I've had to fill in some gaps. Today I've had to map out the territory of what by me to through me is about. Tomorrow you're going to understand the difference between the primary laws and how the tools operate through physical versus non-physical, by me versus through me. And when you learn that, it's going to blow your mind, because you'll see why you've been trapped into by me, or you've had intermittent moments of through me, or you've manifested occasionally here and there when you just happen to have had certain frequency matches, but for the majority of your life, you're trapped in that cycle of rinse and repeat. So, tomorrow, we are going to go into tools, baby. Tomorrow, we're going to give you some practical stuff with which to play, to get out there and actually create some results. Remember, this is not about sitting down on the couch with your thumb up your ass meditating, hoping you're going to get checks in the mail that will bring an eviction notice. No, you've actually got to do something. Why? Because the being part is huge, but the human part comes along with it. But if you're human first and being second, you're in by me. If you're being first and human second, you can operate with through me and make magic in the outer world. More bingo moments. Got it. Now, there are 2 more words I want to leave you with today, because I'm sure you're not interested in them, but I'll throw it out anyway. Mystery box. Anybody interested in a mystery box gift today? Oh my goodness. What is it? Yeah, you are going to absolutely love the mystery box today. Right? I'm stalling because I've forgotten what the hell it was. 1 second. I sent for them. I've got so many gifts for you today. There was 2 of them. And that. Let me have a little look. Oh my God. Oh yes, there we are. Now I know what it was. It has to do with you guys playing the game of, what do you think? What feel great game do you think is going to be useful? No, it's an inflatable hot tub. I wish I could send you all an inflatable hot tub. Yeah, and a waterproof laptop. Yeah, no. What is the game you want to play? The game is feel great, fill in the blank. Now, absolutely. Right? No, I'm not sending you my dogs. So I've got two things for you. I've got a little video that was actually from the film The Secret. Remember Natasha earlier saying about how she was interviewing all the members of The Secret, most of the members of The Secret, good friends of mine as well. You know, I had a close relationship with, well, I still do with John Assaraf and John DeMartini, and spent a fair bit of time with Bob Proctor back in the early 2000s. It was Bob that first told me he was filming this amazing thing called The Secret. But I've got a little video from the Secret that's going to just, if you play, it's just a great reminder to help you feel great now. But I'm also including a short audio. Say short, it's about 10, 11 minutes. From one of my dear friends and mentors called Ed Stracher. How many people know Ed in the house? We just did something with him on his Reading Genius program. He's a beautiful spiritual healer. But Ed Stracher, yeah, so Ed has an audio. He said, I'm happy to give it out as part of our mystery box to support you guys. And it's called the Inner Smile Exercise. Now, how many people have you seen smiling ear to ear that were depressed? Anyone? How many people, right, have ever seen or ever experienced, being in by me, stressed out Simon and realized they weren't smiling? Now, the Inner Smile Exercise is a great audio to take you through when it comes to developing what I call your inner smile, what Ed calls your inner smile. Because when I went to prison, the one thing that I had was an inner smile. Because I understood. Now, to everybody else, they don't get it. They're not going to get it. They think you're in nonsense land. Of course, you're in nonsense land. If you're in sense land, you're in by me. And we don't want to live there. So you've got two gifts from me. I'm going to see you guys tomorrow, same time. We may have another amazing mystery speaker tomorrow as well. I must make sure I spend a little bit of time. And by the way, you're definitely going to want to know what the big mistake number 3 is for the VIPs, right, for tomorrow. So remember, if you want to upgrade to VIP, still time to do it. It's the last chance we're going to give you. petersage.com/upgrade. You get to spend the extra hour. You get all the mystery box stuff. It's worth the $100 all day long, way more than that. So, and by the way, these gifts are going to be in your portal. If you haven't logged into your portal where your community is, you incredible, beautiful, gorgeous bunch of people, then go do it. And I will see you, and you will be able to manifest me tomorrow at the same time. I love you guys. Thank you. Stay amazing, and I'll see you then.